What's the stupidest way you've hurt yourself? As a security guard, I was running to deal with an issue and my flashlight came out of its pouch, went between my foot and the ground. Stepped on it and broke my ankle. I was 8 years old and running home on my lunch break so that I could watch Inspector Gadget, which came on at noon. I decided it would be neat to look down at my feet while I ran, and next thing I know I've run full speed into a parked car. I think I laid like a dead body on the road for a good 5 to 10 minutes. It hurt so badly. I was late for my Inspector Gadget episode and never told anyone what happened. Alright, so my sister is only 1 year older than me, and when we were very young, me 3, and her 4, we were in the bath together. I guess my mom thought this way was easier. She left to get something and my sister said that I should dive into the tub like a dolphin. Me, being the idiot toddler I was, decided this was a wonderful idea and dove right in. Had to get 3 or 4 stitches and a lifetime of stories told about it. Hit myself in the hand with a hatchet. It was so cold I didn't notice until I looked down and saw the blood. I tried to throw a dart into the bullseye on a dartboard that was on the floor, but threw the dart right into my left foot instead. Remember when your parents told you to tie your laces or you would hurt yourself? Well, they were right. I was that kid who ran with untied laces. I fell and instinctively put both my arms out. I landed on my right hand arm and managed to snap my forearm and dislocate my wrist. As I had dislocated my wrist before, as I was accident-prone. I attempted to pop it back in myself in panic. I can't describe the crunchy noise that my arm made, or the pain I felt. I then had to walk to the nurse's office at my school, and wait for my parents to pick me up. They didn't think it was serious. At the hospital the X-ray was a little extreme, and I had to have surgery to correct my arm. 14 years later, and my wrist still isn't the same, and it still hurts in the cold. Life tip. Tie your fluffing laces. I was finishing up this intense jigsaw puzzle, which was on a low table, so I spent the entire night crouching on the balls of my feet. The next morning, my right foot turned purple and swelled up to the size of a large orange. I was on crutches for a couple of weeks. I wonder if I can jump high enough to hit the doorframe with my head. Quote, I gave myself a black eye in my sleep. Rolled into the corner of the nightstand. When I was 13 I was walking down my street and there was a bee that landed on me right under my eye. In a brilliant move I brain farted and punched myself in the face trying to swat it away. Drank from a glass bottle while walking. Knocked out a piece of my tooth. I've sneezed and had a sharp neck pain for a week after. This has happened more than once. I went to take a plate of Totino's pizza rolls out of the microwave. The plate was so fluffing hot that I dropped it. Molten cheese bounced up and was burning through my ankle. I went to stick my foot in the sink to run it under cold water as if I am flexible enough to stand on one foot and get my leg up that high. I fell backwards and cracked my head like an egg. I had a 3rd-degree burn on my ankle, 2nd-degree burn on my fingers and 6 staples to the dome. For fluffing pizza rolls at age 30. My brother was teasing me while I was doing homework, think I was maybe 8 or 9 at the time, and after a few minutes, I snapped. Took my pencil, and went to jab him with the eraser end, so as to not hurt him too badly and get him to shut up. To get a bit more force behind it, I decided to wrap my index finger over the other end. The end with the point. I'm sure you can guess what happened next. A lot of crying and a trip to the emergency room later. I had a pencil point being removed from my finger. When I was about 16, I was telling some story to my sister's boyfriend. I was rather animated about it and began to flail my arms about. Until I hit the glass fixtures of our ceiling fan and showered glass upon myself. Part of the glass cut around my nose and I began to rain blood. Was left with a nice scar and a decent story about situational awareness while speaking. Jumped from the roof of our house when I was 10, to see if it hurts or I'll survive. When I landed it was like an electric shock on my feet. Edit, I survived and yes it was stupid, but when you are a child you tend to brag anything to your friends, so yeah. Did hurt like hell though. I know it sounds very Looney Tunes, but I actually stepped on the head of a rake once and the handle hit me in the face. Broke my foot kicking the tires of a car I was considering buying. As a kid I saw a rabbit on the other side of a fence, so I tried to climb over. Knowing full well it was hot wire. Naturally I fell off the wood between the wires and darned near electrocuted myself when I fell onto the wire. Never did get a hold of that stupid rabbit. When I was 5, I was rushed to the ER twice in the same week. First I slid down the banister as the door below swung open and I crashed head first into the corner of the door, then 3 days later I was playing on the radiator, slipped off, and smashed my head again. Doctors thought my parents were abusive and there was an investigation over it, apparently. I was listening to music while getting ready to cook dinner and decided to use the frying pan as a mic. Did one of those look away from the mic to take a breath moments only to turn back dramatically at a powerful lyric and hit myself in the face with the pan. Happened 6 years and 3+ days ago. Was home alone early afternoon. Believed I was home alone. But then I heard a noise that I thought was inside the house. No one else should be home but me, so I was spooked. I crept out and listened for movement and thought I heard a voice downstairs. I tried to sneak down the stairs but only made it to the first step. By the second step my heel slipped out from under me and I planted hard on the step and slid down to the last 3 steps, finally able to stop. My shoulder was sore trying to save myself on the rail. My back is beat to hell from hitting all the steps down. My tailbone is pulsing, nothing but pain. Trying to get up made it worse. Nothing felt broken. I was able to get up after a minute or so and baby step around the corner where I found the source. It was my neighbors talking in their backyard, and brother had his window open allowing it to carry into the house. For 5 years if I sat longer than an hour my tailbone, coccyx hurt. Watching movies, which I love, was always troublesome. I got seat cushions for it that I couldn't go without at home. About 7 months ago it just stopped. No more pain. Edit from another comment about it. A few months after the incident I was diagnosed with kidney failure and was on dialysis for a month shy of 5 years when I got a kidney transplant. Throughout my whole sickness I talked about the injury with doctors, had scans, and of course detailed look because of the transplant. No fractures were found. At worst, I had a mini fracture. At best, the excess fluid was exacerbating it. After the transplant I've taken it as a strong possibility that it finally healed thanks to no excess fluid hanging around. One of the small reasons I opted for peritoneal dialysis over hemodialysis. I was leaning over a fence post trying to bend straight, a nail I'd just hit and bent. Only rather than use the claw of the hammer, I used the face of the head of the hammer, slipped off and smashed myself in the forehead, a good 15 years later, and I still have a scar on my forehead like a garbage Harry Potter. I once went on my balcony to smoke a cigarette, only I forgot there was no balcony anymore because it was getting fixed. So I broke my leg falling 1 story down. Now the real irony was, my mother wanted to fix the balcony because it was old and she was afraid it might break off and I might hurt myself. At work. When I moved to my new workplace, I was forced to switch from regular steel toes to heavy-duty boots with a plate over the laces for my protection. While unloading a load of steel, the plate that is there for my protection caught on the lip of a steel beam I was stepping over on the stockpile and dropped me from standing up with my head 6 feet up to ground level. Very luckily, there was a 10x6 steel beam to catch me on the edge to keep my head from hitting the concrete floor, and I only had to get 12 staples and take a week off work. Of note, the only reason I bought the fluffing boots in the first place is that the GM noticed I didn't have them and told me if I didn't show up next shift with them I'd be sent home. Not about me but someone who sat next to me in a class a while ago. She was clipping her toenails and a big toenail flew up and hit her in the eye and she had to go to the doctor cause it cut her eye. So she has a bandaged eye for a while lol. I was shooting basketball when I was a kid and kept missing. I got really mad and threw the ball as hard as I could because I was done. It ended up hitting the pole and bounced back hard enough that it smashed me in the face, completely knocked me off my feet and I smashed my head on the asphalt. Just realized I have one for me too. When I was in like middle school I was shaving my legs and then I brought the razor up to put it back on the shelf and I held it too close to my body and I cut my nipple open. Hurt so bad. Didn't tell my parents or see a doctor, just had a swollen cut nipple for a while. Edit, wow, I didn't realize I wasn't the only one, thank you for all the comments. Some of these stories have made my skin crawl. Be safe people. Buried at the bottom so I am safe. I was at work in a high-stress office complex in Virginia. The work made you eat quickly and often at your desk. I was eating a baby carrot and tortilla chips, when all of a sudden I get stabbed with the edge of a chip midway chewing a carrot. Blood all down my throat, the chip was sharp, and I turned blue choking on baby carrots. Good times nearly getting killed by a chip and a carrot. Learn to slow down when eating. Edit. Of course my top comment of my account 10 years old in February 20 is of me choking on a baby carrot. Thank you kind stranger for the gold. I laughed at all the comments and hopefully those around me haven't figured me out yet.